When Ethan asked me to spend the weekend at his family's beach house, I didn't think twice. We'd been friends since high school. The kind of friendship built on years of stupid jokes, late-night drives, and surviving finals week on takeout and caffeine. He was always the confident one, captain of the soccer team, the guy everyone gravitated toward. I was quieter, more behind the scenes, but we just clicked. So when he texted me out of the blue, "Yo, come to the beach house this weekend. Just us, no parents." I packed a bag that night. We hadn't hung out one-on-one in months. Life just got busy. He started working for his uncle's construction company after college, and I'd been swallowed up by a graphic design internship in the city. I didn't even ask who else would be there. I needed a break, and the ocean sounded like the perfect place to forget about work, bills, and whatever else was clawing at my brain. Ethan picked me up in his beat-up Toyota Friday afternoon. Same car he had in high school. Only now, the passenger seat smelled faintly of cologne instead of gym socks. I climbed in, threw my bag in the back, and we were off. "Still hate the city?" I asked after a while. He smirked, eyes on the road. "Nah, I just hate your apartment. Your couch sucks. You're the one who passed out on it last time. Because you made me watch that pretentious horror movie with subtitles." I laughed, and the tension I didn't know I'd been carrying eased a little. We got to the house just as the sun started dipping low. It was beautiful in that quiet, coastal way, peeling paint on the railing, sand on the porch steps, wind chimes clinking softly in the breeze. The place hadn't changed since we were teenagers. It still had the creaky floorboards, the old radio in the kitchen, and the porch swing that Ethan swore could hold two but always tilted dangerously when we tried. "No one else is coming?" I asked, suddenly unsure. He shook his head, grabbing a case of beer from the trunk. "Just us. I needed a reset." That surprised me. Ethan never said stuff like that. But I let it go. That night, we grilled on the back deck and ate barefoot with our legs kicked up on the railing, the ocean murmuring in the distance. We talked about everything and nothing. Jobs, girls he was sort of seeing, my latest design disaster. It felt easy, familiar. Then he said something that caught me off guard. "You still with that guy? The one from the city?" I blinked. "We broke up, like 4 months ago." "Oh." He looked away, down at the bottle in his hand. "Didn't know," I shrugged, trying to keep it casual. "It was nothing serious." He was quiet for a beat, then said, "You never told me that you were into guys." I exhaled through my nose. "Yeah, well, timing never felt right." Ethan nodded slowly. "Makes sense, I guess." We didn't talk about it more. He just changed the subject, and I let him. But something about the way he looked at me lingered longer than it should have. Later, when we turned in for the night, he pointed to the bigger bedroom. "Take that one," he said. "I'll crash in the twins." I hesitated. "You sure?" "Dude, you're the guest. Plus that bed's like sleeping on clouds." I went upstairs and lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling fan slowly spinning above me. I should have felt relaxed. But my mind kept turning. Something was different with Ethan. Not bad. Just off. Softer, maybe. Quieter. And the way he looked at me earlier, it wasn't weird, just not what I expected. Around 1 a.m., I woke up thirsty and went downstairs for water. The house was dim, lit only by the moonlight spilling in through the big kitchen window. And that's when I saw him, Ethan, standing outside on the back deck, barefoot, shirtless, just staring at the ocean. I didn't mean to watch him, but I did. For a few long seconds. Then he turned and saw me. "Couldn't sleep either?" he asked. I stepped outside, the boards cool under my feet. "Nah. Too quiet, maybe." Ethan leaned against the railing, arms crossed over his bare chest. "You remember the summer we snuck out and slept on this deck?" "Yeah," I said. "We were what, 16? He nodded. "You told me that night you never felt like you fit in. Not at school, not even at home." I looked at him, surprised he remembered that. "And I didn't say anything," he continued. "I just let you talk." "You always did," I murmured. He turned toward me, his eyes unreadable in the moonlight. I should have said something. Like what? But he didn't answer. He just looked at me. and something in that silence felt like it was about to break open. The ocean behind us whispered against the shore, but the silence between us was louder. Ethan was still looking at me like he wanted to say something but couldn't quite find the words. His arms were crossed, knuckles white where he gripped his biceps, like holding on to himself was the only thing keeping him steady. "You okay?" I asked, trying to fill the space with something. He nodded too quickly. "Yeah, just being weird, I guess." I stepped closer to the railing beside him, close enough to feel the heat coming off his skin. He didn't move away. "You're not weird," I said, voice quieter now. "Just not your usual bro self." Ethan laughed under his breath, but it didn't have the usual swagger. "Yeah, well, bro self is kind of tired." That made me glance over. "Everything good?" He didn't answer right away. Then finally he said, "I think I've been lying to myself for a long time." That hit harder than I expected. "About what?" His eyes flicked to mine, and for a split second, there was something raw there. Honest. Then he looked back out at the ocean and exhaled. "I don't know. Life, maybe. Girls. Who I'm supposed to be." I didn't know what to say, so I just waited. Let him talk on his own terms. Ethan tilted his head back, looking at the stars. "You remember when we were 16 and we swam out past the sandbar even though your mom told us not to?" I laughed. "Yeah. You panicked halfway out and said you saw a jellyfish." He smirked. "It was a plastic bag." "You screamed like it was a sea monster." Ethan grinned, then looked down, his expression softening. "I was scared, but you just kept swimming like it didn't matter, like you didn't care what was out there." He paused, glancing at me again. "I think that's what I've always liked about you." I froze. "What do you mean?" His eyes didn't leave mine. "I mean, I think I've been scared of the water a long time. And you were always just swimming in it. Like it was nothing." There was a long pause. Then he added, almost a whisper, "I watched you sleep earlier." My stomach dropped, not in fear, but something closer to disbelief. "What?" Ethan looked down, suddenly ashamed. "Not in a creepy way. I couldn't sleep and I walked past your door and you looked so peaceful. And I don't know, man. It hit me." I waited, heart thudding. "What hit you?" He leaned forward, resting his arms on the railing. "That I wanted to be in there with you. Not just because I missed hanging out, not because I was lonely. I wanted to be close, physically close." He turned his head slightly, not quite looking at me, and that scared the hell out of me. The air between us shifted. It was like the entire world paused to let this moment exist. "You ever think about it?" he asked softly. "Us?" I swallowed, suddenly aware of how tight my chest felt. "Yeah," I admitted, "a lot more than I should have." Ethan turned fully toward me then, and I could see everything on his face. Fear, confusion, longing. "I didn't think I was into guys," he said. "But it's not about guys. It's about you." There was a beat. And then, just like that, he closed the gap between us. His lips brushed mine, gentle, unsure, but real. It was short, hesitant, like he was waiting to see if the world would collapse around us. It didn't. He pulled back, eyes wide. "Shit," he whispered. "I don't know what I'm doing." I didn't move. "It's okay." He looked at me like he wanted to believe that. I just had to know what it felt like. My voice was steadier than I expected. "And?" He let out a breath. "It felt like breathing." For a second, we just stood there, letting the weight of what just happened settle around us. "You still scared of the water?" I asked. Ethan's eyes didn't leave mine. "Not if you're in it with me." We didn't talk much after that kiss. Not because we were avoiding it, but because neither of us knew what to say. We just stayed on the deck a little longer, watching the tide roll in and out like the answer to a question neither of us had figured out how to ask. Eventually, we went inside, quietly, almost like we were trying not to wake the house. I expected him to head for the guest room. Instead, he followed me upstairs. "Ethan," I said, stopping outside my door. He looked at me, nervous but sure. "I don't want to be alone." My throat tightened. I stepped aside, and he walked in like it was the most natural thing in the world. The room was dim, moonlight casting soft shadows across the bed. We didn't do anything. He just crawled under the covers beside me and lay there, both of us on our backs, staring up at the ceiling fan spinning in slow circles. After a while, his arm brushed mine. Then his hand found my wrist, just rested there. "You awake?" he whispered. "Yeah." He was quiet for a second. Then, "That kiss, was it weird?" "No," I said. "It wasn't weird." "Was it good?" I turned my head. He was looking at me just inches away now. "It was more than good," I said. His lips curled into the smallest smile. "Okay, good." We didn't kiss again that night. Just laid there, his fingers lightly laced with mine under the covers. But that simple closeness, it felt like more than anything we'd ever done. More than years of jokes, late night runs for fast food, long drives talking about nothing. This was different, and it scared the hell out of both of us. The next morning was strange in the way mornings, after something big, always are. There's this quiet tension in the air, like the world knows something shifted. Ethan was already up when I rolled out of bed. He was on the deck, coffee mug in hand, staring at the water. I joined him, brushing the sleep from my eyes. "Morning," I said. He nodded. "Didn't mean to leave. Just needed a sec to think." I leaned on the railing next to him. "You regret it?" "No," he said quickly. "Not even a little. I don't know what this means. It doesn't have to mean anything right now." He looked at me, and there was something in his eyes. Relief, maybe. "You always make things feel less complicated," he said. "That's because I live in a constant state of confusion." Ethan laughed, genuinely this time. It eased something in my chest. We spent the day like we used to. Swimming, making dumb jokes, grilling lunch. But there was a new current underneath it all. Glances that lasted a little longer. A brush of his hand against mine when we passed condiments. The way he sat closer than he needed to. That night, we watched the sun dip below the horizon, the sky painted in streaks of orange and purple. "I used to think you were braver than me," Ethan said quietly. I raised an eyebrow. "Used to?" He smirked, but it faded just as fast. "It's hard, man. Admitting you're not who you thought you were. Or who people expect." "I know." He turned to me. "But I want to figure it out. With you." I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. I just leaned in and kissed him. This time, he kissed me back, without hesitation. It wasn't careful or tentative like the night before. It was real, hungry, honest. When we finally pulled apart, breathless, he whispered against my lips, "So what now?" I smiled. "Now? We keep swimming." We didn't leave the beach house the next day, not because we had to be there, but because the place had become its own little bubble, separate from the rest of the world. No texts, no updates, no pretending. Just me and Ethan, floating in this strange, quiet rhythm we were both too scared to label but too drawn to leave. That morning, he made pancakes, burned the first batch, swore the pan was cursed. I told him it was user error. He flipped me off with the spatula and told me to shut up before I kiss you in front of the maple syrup. We laughed. It felt dangerously close to something real. Later, we took the kayaks out, paddling past the sandbar until the shore looked far enough away to be forgotten. We didn't talk much, just drifted, side by side, letting the sun bake our skin and the silence settle in comfortably. At one point, he looked over at me and said, "If I told my mom about this, she'd say I'm just confused." I kept my eyes on the water. "Are you?" He was quiet for a moment. Then, "I don't think so. I think I've just been lying to myself for a really long time." I didn't push, I just nodded. Later, when we got back, he disappeared into the outdoor shower. I stayed in the kitchen, peeling an orange, listening to the sound of water hitting wood planks. I didn't know what we were. Still don't, to be honest. Friends? Something more? Something in between? The lines were blurry, but the feeling wasn't. That night, we watched a movie in the living room. An old horror film he picked out, just to mess with me, because he knew I hated jump scares. Every time something popped out, I'd flinch and he'd laugh, nudging me with his elbow. Halfway through, he laid his head on my shoulder. Just let it rest there. I froze for a second, then let myself relax into it. Comfy? I asked. Mm-hmm. A pause. I like this, he added. Yeah? Yeah. We stayed like that for the rest of the movie. At one point, his hand found mine again, fingers loosely laced together. After it ended, he didn't move. Instead, he looked up at me, eyes softer than I'd ever seen. You know how I always said I hated the beach? He asked. Yeah. I lied, he said. I think I just never liked who I was when I was here before. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just ran my fingers through his hair, slow and steady. I like who you are now, I said. He smiled against my chest. And for the first time all weekend, I saw it relief, like he finally let himself breathe. Sunday came too fast. The light that morning was sharp and golden, casting long lines through the cracks in the window. I woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of waves, but the bed beside me was empty. Ethan was already up. I found him sitting out on the porch, wearing that same old hoodie from high school. The sleeves too short now, the hem frayed from years of use. He didn't hear me come out. He was staring at the water, a half-drunk mug in his hand and something unreadable on his face. I didn't say anything, just sat down beside him, letting the silence do its thing. After a while, he finally spoke. What happens when we go back? I swallowed. I'd been wondering the same thing. He turned to me, brows furrowed. I mean, whatever this is, it's easy here. No one watching, no expectations. Yeah, I said. But you're still you, and I'm still me. That doesn't change just because the beach house disappears. He let out a breath. You really think that? I know it. He looked at me for a long time, then nodded slowly, like he was trying to convince himself. The rest of the morning was quiet, but full. We made breakfast together, and he actually managed to not burn anything. He hummed some dumb pop song as he did the dishes, and I pretended not to notice that his shirt was riding up just enough to show a strip of skin. Around noon, we started packing up. It was strange how quickly the magic of the weekend started to fade once the bags came out. The real world felt like it was creeping back in, like a cold draft under the door. As we loaded the last of our things into the car, Ethan grabbed my arm gently. Hey, he said, voice low, can I ask you something? Yeah? If I mess this up, like, really messed it up, would you still talk to me? I looked at him for a long time. You haven't messed anything up, I said. But yeah, I'd still talk to you, even if you did. He nodded. Okay, that's good. The drive home was mostly quiet, but not in a bad way. His hand rested on the center console, and every so often, I let my pinky brush against his, just enough to say, I'm still here. When we got to my apartment, he helped carry my bag up, then lingered at the door. You gonna call me? I asked, half teasing. Ethan looked almost nervous. Can I see you again? You mean, like, another weekend? No, he said, then smiled. I mean like on purpose, with intention. I stepped in close until our chests nearly touched. You want to take me on a date, Ethan? He grinned. Maybe, if you'll let me. I'll let you, I said. He leaned in, kissed me soft and slow, then pulled back and whispered, good, because I think I've wanted that longer than I realized. And just like that, he was gone. But I didn't feel sad. I felt something better. Hope. It started small after that weekend. Texts during the day, not just what's up or dumb memes, but real stuff. Things like, I heard this song and thought of you. Or, The guy next to me on the train looks like he models for knife commercials. Weird, honest, very Ethan. He came by the following Friday, brought takeout, sat on my couch like he'd been there 1,000 times before. "Okay, if I stay over?" he asked, halfway through his spring rolls. "Your toothbrush is still in the bathroom," I said. He grinned. "I knew you'd be a sentimental bastard." That night, he kissed me in my kitchen, arms around my waist, forehead pressed against mine, after like he was anchoring himself there. He didn't ask for permission. Didn't need to. It wasn't awkward. It didn't feel like a first. It felt like continuing something we'd started years ago but never admitted to. We didn't rush anything. Some nights he'd sleep over, and we'd just talk until we passed out mid-sentence. Some nights we'd lie in bed, holding each other without speaking at all. Other nights, let's just say it wasn't always soft. But even then, it was never just about the physical stuff. It was about being close to each other in a way that had always been off limits before. About 3 weeks in, we hit a wall. It was a Sunday afternoon. We were at a friend's barbecue, and someone made a joke. Something stupid, offhanded. A no-homo kind of joke. Ethan laughed. Not hard, not maliciously, just enough. I froze. He noticed. Tried to explain on the drive back, but I wasn't hearing it. "You laughed," I said, staring out the passenger window, like we're still 16 and pretending. He gripped the wheel tighter. It caught me off guard. "That's not an excuse." "I know," he said quietly, "but it's the truth." We didn't talk the rest of the way. Later that night, he showed up at my door. Eyes tired. Hoodie pulled low like he was trying to disappear. "I don't want to be that guy," he said before I could speak. "I don't want to be someone who hides or shrinks when it gets uncomfortable." "You were," I said. "Today, you were." He nodded, biting the inside of his cheek. "I know. I'm trying. But sometimes I still feel like that scared kid who doesn't know what the hell he's doing." I looked at him. "Then grow up, Ethan. You don't get to have this and pretend it's nothing in public." He stepped closer. "I don't want this to be nothing." "Then act like it," I said. "Because I can't be the only one showing up." He nodded. "You're right." He stepped forward again, slowly this time, and pulled me into a hug that felt more like a promise. "I'm gonna get better at this," he said. "Just don't give up on me." I didn't say anything right away. Then I whispered, "Okay, but I need you to mean it." His voice cracked as he said, "I do." He kept his promise. Not all at once, not perfectly, but week by week, Ethan started showing up differently. The small things mattered. Holding my hand in public without flinching. Leaning over and kissing me on the cheek in the middle of a grocery store. Introducing me to his coworkers as someone important instead of my friend. He didn't label it right away. Neither did I. We didn't need to. We were whatever we were, and we were figuring it out together. That was enough. One night, maybe 2 months after that beach house weekend, we were lying on my couch, his head on my chest, our legs tangled under a blanket. Some documentary played on the TV, but we weren't watching it. Ethan was tracing circles on my stomach with his thumb. He shifted, propped himself up on his elbow, and looked at me with that same serious face he got when he was about to say something big. "I told my mom about you," he said. I blinked. "You did?" He nodded. "Told her I was seeing someone." "A guy, you." My heart stuttered. "How'd she take it?" She said, "Well, is he nice?" Ethan grinned, and then asked if I was finally going to stop pretending to be into Becky from church. I laughed. "She always knew, didn't she?" "I think so," he said. "But I had to say it out loud. For myself." He laid his head back down, quieter now. "I don't think I ever told you this," he said softly. "But I used to have dreams about you. In high school. And I'd wake up scared, not because of the dream, but because of how real it felt. I swallowed. Why didn't you say anything back then? Because I thought it meant something was wrong with me. He looked up, met my eyes. But now I think it meant something was right. I leaned down and kissed him. Slow, grateful, sure. That night, we fell asleep on the couch. The TV still on. The blanket half on the floor. His arm draped over my chest like he was anchoring himself to something solid. A year later, we went back to the beach house. We didn't pack much. Just a couple bags, a bottle of cheap wine, and that same old hoodie Ethan insisted still had one more summer left in it. We sat out on the deck the first night, watching the tide roll in, legs touching, drinks in hand. It feels different now, I said. He nodded. Because we're different now. He turned to me. I'm still scared sometimes, he said. But when I'm with you, I feel brave. I didn't say anything right away. Just reached over and took his hand in mine. You don't have to be brave alone. He smiled. And in that moment, under the same stars, on the same deck where everything started, I knew it wasn't just a phase or an experiment or some summer thing. This was real. This was us.